I have quite a few friends in this space, and we've all kind of taken a different path. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like those spouses of people who wrestle, like Lauren Burrows, or people who are spouses of coaches' wives, or people who are spouses of coaches. Well,
Yeah.
and none of our stories are the same, right? Like some people have chosen to be like, I'm going to put my dreams on hold. Or some people have been like, you know what, this is our dream together. We're going to do this together. Or some people have
Yeah.
pursued their own things. And so I think every couple is different in what works. And we chose to just both kind of go after it. Now, mine was a little less intense than his, I will say. So when it comes to like, I would always be like, okay, I have this thing, but it can wait because this thing of yours is more time intensive and more pressing
Sure.
and
Mhm.
needs more of our energy right now. But I think the fact that we both were doing things and trying to reach separate goals, but together at the same time, it just allowed us this different perspective of kind of being partners to each other and like, how can I help you reach your goal? And not like, sorry, I need this. Like, give me what I need. It's more like, okay,
Mhm.
how can we do this together?
There's a famous saying out there that states, behind every great man, there's a great woman. Meet Kristen Metcalf. You may know her as the wife of Iowa State assistant wrestling coach Brent Metcalf. But by the end of this episode, you'll know her as a professor at Iowa State University who has a PhD in health and human physiology. Kristen has been by Brent every step of the way. And while he chased his dreams, she never gave up on hers. I'm Kelby Bachman, and this is Let's Talk Wrestling. In the heart of West Union, Iowa, lies a hidden gem in Euphoria Coffee. Owned by local residents Nicole and Shane Havenstreit, they source everything they can from local vendors. From hot and iced drinks, to savory breakfast burritos, to baked goods, to botany tea, and even homemade waffles, Euphoria Coffee is a place your entire family can enjoy. You can find more information at drinkeuphoria.coffee2go.com or visit their Facebook page. And we also have a special gift just for you. Next time you stop in, you can get a free baked good with a $20 purchase. Just mention the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Euphoria Coffee. Our purpose is deeper than coffee. So what's up? What are you doing on this Monday? You were right at 9 o'clock, which is great. Promptness.
I try to, be on time or at least less than 5 minutes late, but people who know me in person will say that they give me a 15-minute window, which is not a good like reputation to have, but it's just life.
Well, when you have three kids, I feel like you sort of get that, or when you have kids in general, but you have three, correct? So I mean, you kind of get that. Oh, you got four. Sorry, you got four kids. So yeah, you get that buffer a little bit.
Yeah, I think when you have four kids, you just kind of like let all expectation go out the window and it's like, if we arrive, we're good.
It's almost like they will let you know, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but they'll be like, all right, we're gonna get started at noon. Like they just let you know when the festivities will begin. And then there is no expectation of when you show up. It's just kind of open-ended.
Yeah, or if you want me there at a certain time, people lie to me and tell me like, oh, it starts at 11:30, but it starts at noon, but they know I'll show up at like 11:50, so I still good.
Well,
It's
that's nice. Like,
I'm working really hard at it, but I'm 40 and I'm still there, so I don't know if it's ever changing. I don't know.
yeah, well, it's nice. Like I was seeing how early they would tell you because sometimes that's kind of a fun tell is like if we have to tell this person like an hour beforehand or like an hour and a half beforehand, like then it gets to be kind of funny and a little bit of a problem. But um
No, I'm
half
not
hour window is good. Yeah, that's good.
usually it's not that. 'Cause I have a friend who we used to tell her an hour and a half and she would show up on time. And that I think is just like a disregard of, time. Mine is like I try to pack in as many things as I can before I leave the house. Like, oh, I need to unload the dishwasher and change the laundry, and I have time to put it away first. Because it's only going to take me 15 minutes to drive there, but I forget about getting four kids in the car and then getting them out of the car and making sure the dog's gone out. So.
Who is normally the one like is is you or is Brent the one that's pretty like late to things? Like typically I feel like there's always a spouse like
It's
it's you?
yes, time is very important to him. And so he'll like start getting the kids, if he's here, he'll start getting the kids ready for something. And I'm like, Brent, we don't have to leave for 45 minutes. And he's like, I know, but it's going to take that long. So he is like a stickler for being early and it kills him. Like our kids, sporting activities, like their coaches
Mhm.
will say, like 15 minutes early is on time and on time is late. And I will drop them off at 4 o'clock for a 4 o'clock practice and they're like running out there, throwing their football helmet on. He's like, this is like our reputation. Like people think that we just like throw caution to the wind and show up when we want to. No one thinks that about you. You're always early. They think that about me. So I'm sorry.
And you accept that. You're like, you know what? I can live with that. Like that's not that bad of a thing to live with, you know. There are worse things.
Or at least on time, which apparently is late, but I don't show up like 20 minutes late if I can help it. So
Yeah.
it's
Has there been something, you know, that just makes me think about like something that has like rubbed off on you from him that has sort of maybe changed, like not changed you, but um maybe loosened you up or saw something different perspectively where you're like, oh, hey, you're right, Brent. Like I will sort of absorb that and be a little more okay with that. Does that make
um
sense?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He has a lot of qualities that I would love to have. And he always makes a joke to me that's like, you don't like Coach Brent, do you? And I'm like, no, I don't like Coach Brent because, as like a spouse, you don't want to be like coached up by, but I'm also just really hard-headed and stubborn. So then when I take
Oh.
time back to be like, okay, yeah, he's right. So no, there's a lot of lessons I learned from him. One is, time management. And two is like, I get super wrapped up in like the things we have to do and I let things stress me out. And he's
Hmm.
like, hey, like it's okay. Like in 5 years, is this going to matter? Or in 3 days, is this going to matter? And the answer is usually no. Tomorrow it won't matter. So his like ability to keep everything in perspective and not get too strung out in either direction. Like nothing gets him too high or too low. He's just kind of like even keel. And I'm like, all board. So no, that is definitely like something, we've been together almost 20 years and I haven't absorbed it
Wow.
yet, but I'm still working on it.
20 years.
Yeah. I don't think I'm that old,
Wow.
so I don't know how that happened, but
Yeah, right. Yeah. I've been with my wife. We've been together for 8 and or we've been together for 10, married for 8. Like,
yeah, you start to get in those double digits. Wow, how did that happen?
yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to believe. We met in like the fall of 2006. So we're not quite there yet, but almost together
Yeah.
20 years. And that's like mind blowing to me. Like we've
Yeah.
almost reached that point where we've known each other longer in our lives than before.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
That's kind of an interesting shift. Like, I don't know. It's
Yeah.
crazy. But
Yeah. Fall of 2006. Before I get to that, I want to ask you, what do you think that you have instilled in him? Like basically the same question, but reversed, you know, Brent has made you kind of see things like, okay, is this going to matter? No, you know, maybe, but what have you done for him, you think, or would he say you've done to sort of,
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think that I do a good job of reminding him about balance. Um, I really wonder how he would answer this question. Probably differently than how I would.
yeah,
Like, um, he's very calculated about things and like his work is important to him. Like, obviously his wrestling was important to him. And I'm over here like, hey, let's go do something fun. Let's take a trip. And he's usually rolling his eyes at me, but then, once we're there, he's like, yeah, okay, we needed that. So
mhm.
I think my ability to have that balance and push him for that balance hopefully has helped him. But
Yeah,
yeah, we
I'm
joke.
sure.
Yeah. So.
No, we joke what?
I'm just gonna say, I'm not sure. I'm like high strung and I'm like always overthinking things. So I'm like, I don't think Brett wants any of my qualities, but that's just me being self-deprecating.
Right,
So
right. Yeah. This is going to be interesting because, like, from the eyes of a wrestling fan, we only see Brent when he's working, and he seems like he's really high strung.
Yeah,
So this is going to be kind of fun to learn about you and how you are actually the high strung one, you know, in this dynamic. So,
good luck. I don't know. But
um, so you met him. So first off, before we get to you meeting him, I just want to learn a little bit more about you. So, Kristen, where are you from?
I'm from Iowa City. So
Oh,
I
really? Okay.
is there. Yeah, my family, most of my family still lives there. Um, yeah, I lived there for 32 years. And then my big escape from my hometown was 2 hours down the road. So
What high school did you go to?
I went to Iowa City West.
I am to West. Okay. Did you end up going to the University of Iowa then too?
I did. Yes, my freshman year I went to Luther College up in Decorah.
Really?
Yeah, I loved it up there. My brother went to school up there and I used to love going up to visit him and
Yeah.
uh, and then you go freshman year and you get lonely and you miss your friends. And so I came home. Um, and I went to the University of Iowa after that for like the rest of time, what felt like half of my life. But so yeah, no, I moved back and that was a good move for me. And obviously, my life would look a lot different if I didn't come back. So I'm glad I did.
Yeah. Yeah, when I think about like my wife and I's journey, like there's a lot of things that kind of fell into place that allowed us to get like to even meet, to even get to know each other. Like so
Yeah.
many things kind of had to fall into place. So I'm even thinking about this with you and Brent. Like, yeah, what if you didn't move back?
Yeah.
What if
And
he didn't come to Iowa? Like,
Iowa and yeah,
yeah. So when
yeah,
you moved back, did you go to the dorms?
I did. Yes. But like a true hometown person, I never stayed there. A bunch of my friends had gone to
Mhm.
Kirkwood, and so they had apartments.
Oh yeah, yeah,
I'm there. So my like girlfriends from high school were also my college friends, and they're still my friends. So not that
yeah,
I meet new people, and I have new
yeah,
friends. I
yeah.
promise. I'm not horrible people. But, no, it was yeah. So I lived in the dorms, but pretty much lived at my friends' apartments for the
Yeah,
most.
which dorm?
I lived in Reno, Tennessee,
Reno.
Reno, a
Is
long
that
way.
across the river?
It's on the side of the river where the field house is. I don't know if you know where the field house is.
Yeah.
Um,
So I
so
went to Iowa for a semester. I was in Hillcrest.
okay, so it's right next to Hillcrest. Well, not right.
Oh,
You know,
yeah. Okay.
up in the field, like so Hillcrest's over here. If you're driving
Yeah.
up the hill and the field house is straight ahead,
Yep.
and there's the two towers on either side. There's Slater on one side and Reno on the other.
Oh, so Reno's across the street.
Reno's on the same side of the street
Is
as
Hillcrest?
yes, and then
Oh,
street. So
gotcha.
yeah,
Hmm.
honestly, it's changed so much in the what have I been here? Almost 9 years. It's
Yeah.
changed. I mean, there's new dorms and that whole like I go back there and I go back a lot because my parents are there half time
Yeah.
and my brother and my nieces and nephews are there. And every time I go like downtown or on campus, I'm like, where am I? Like it's that town changes so much and it's crazy. So
Yeah. Yeah, so I only went there for a semester, so you can probably tell by me not knowing exactly where the dorms were. But yeah, um so you end up going to Iowa. Did you know like what you were doing, like what you wanted to study, or were you just going to college because that's what you're supposed to do?
well, this is a joke at my house. I always wanted to be a doctor, like
Really?
growing up. That's always what I wanted to do. And so um, I went to Iowa with the goal of, I mean, I ended up getting a degree in health and human physiology with thoughts of going on to medical school. And I it's kind of funny because I thought to myself, you got to take like a gap year and do the MCAT, and then you got to do your
Mm.
residence, or you got to go through school and then do your residency and then your fellowship. I'm like, I don't want to be like in school and basically until I'm 30. And then I was in school until I was 32. So it didn't, so that really didn't, pan out how I thought. But um, no, but I'm happy with the direction we took. So that's kind of why that's what I wanted to do. And that's why I went there. And when I met Brent, I told him that's what I wanted to do. So he always jokes that I like duped him. Like he was like, oh, I thought I was gonna marry a doctor. I'm like, well, you did. I'm just, a different kind. Not exactly what you were thinking. So,
Yeah. So what did you, so you eventually, you graduated, not graduated, but you kept going till 32. What'd you graduate eventually with?
so I have my PhD in excuse me, my PhD in health and human physiology.
Uh-huh.
So I went to undergrad for and got a degree in health promotion. And then
Okay.
I worked for a few years. And then after we got married, I went back and got my master's and decided that, and as when you get your master's, you are a TA and a research assistant. And I just really liked that. And I wanted to keep working with college students. And so I continued on and got my PhD. I graduated with that in 2018. So
Wow.
yeah. So, I ended up becoming a doctor, just not the kind he thought.
Wow. So you got your degree in health and human physiology from Iowa, and then what was the path you went? It sounds like you started dabbling in like teaching at the collegiate level.
Yeah. So currently I'm a professor at Iowa State. But it
Nice.
took a
Yeah.
while to get there.
Hmm.
We moved here in 17, and so I was still in grad school at that time. And then when you go out and try to find a job in academia, you usually look across the whole country and are like, okay,
Correct.
where can I find a job teaching in this field that I like? And we just both happen to have occupations that would require you to move someplace. And so, we made the decision that we would go for his jobs and then I would try to find a job wherever we were. So I have taught as an adjunct at DMAC and I did a couple of visiting lectures. And then in 2020, we had our fourth child. And so then I just stayed home with her for a while. And then I've been at Iowa State for almost 2 years now. So it took a little time. I graduated in 18 and I started working in what was that, 2024? So like started working full time. So
Yeah.
here and there. And then they started a new program at Iowa State that was just a perfect fit. And so it worked out. So I got to be in
Nice.
Georgia while she was little. And yeah, now I finally get to do what I spent all those years in school for.
That's
So
awesome. And this is what like this feels like this is, even though you're not like the doctor per se, like you're still a doctor, but you're not like at a
I'm
hospital
not a
working a,
doctor. I'm not, meeting patients. And
yeah.
um, yeah, I really enjoy what I'm doing. I do. And so I teach in kinesiology, but I
Mhm.
teach only for now in Master of Digital Health program. And so we teach our students about kind of the merging of
Mhm.
health and technology. So it's still that same field. Like I'm still, passionate about health and wellness and,
Mhm.
trying to have better health outcomes for people who have illness or people who don't. And so this is a great way to still get that and just teaching students how to use digital tools to improve health outcomes. And so, yeah, it's, definitely a different path than I imagined, but
Mhm.
it's been great. And yeah, I love it. So,
Yeah. And
yeah.
so, what do you think about using digital tools in healthcare? I mean, it's still, I feel, a little newer because things are still they're always evolving and stuff. But like, I can sense that there's people out there that would be like, no, like natural is the way to go. Like, technology has no place. Like,
Yeah.
what do you feel?
Well, I think one, technology in healthcare can mean so many things, right? So
Mhm.
we're looking at like telehealth or like visiting with your doctor on the
Oh,
phone
yeah,
and digital medication management and health apps to help you kind of learn about healthy habits and, getting your activity and eating right and taking your medications on time and things like that, all the way to AI and decision making and AI scanning your radiological images and all of that. And kind of so that there's a vast spectrum
yeah,
is technology can be integrated. And so I would say right now, the kind of inclusion of AI and having that kind of help make your medical decisions is a little scary to people.
for
Um,
sure.
to me, it's exciting because um, I think it just gives us so much more um, tools because you still have a
Mhm.
doctor who's reading these and looking at it. And you still have that kind of interaction with a human being, but they're just getting like a little assistance to maybe catch something that they've never seen. So I always think about like stories where, somebody saw this same doctor and they kept saying, I'm having this symptom, I'm having this symptom. And it's like, if it's nothing they've ever seen before, maybe they don't recognize it. But then you take them to a new doctor one day and they're like, oh, I've seen this. I know exactly what that is. But when you
Mhm.
kind of include digital tools, you get that extra opinion. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think it's exciting. Certainly there's ethical considerations and privacy considerations and all of that, but um, I think the promise of it is pretty exciting.
yeah. I would say.
Yeah.
Um, Also, the telehealth thing, like that's been, I think that has been sort of a little bit of a game changer, that you can see patients anywhere and, if you're state licensed or whatever, like that's so helpful. Because, for instance, I moved from Omaha out to here and I didn't have to change. Luckily, my therapist is licensed in both Colorado and Nebraska. I didn't have to change
Mhm.
because I could keep seeing her.
Yeah.
So, like that's that's big. I'll just
Yeah.
say that.
I
Like,
like the continuity of care and being comfortable with somebody. And I think it also helps, like you're talking about having an established care relationship, but think about trying to start a new care relationship and maybe stigma that you might feel of like going into an office. And so
yeah,
we remove that. We can just talk just like I'm talking to you right now. So
yeah,
I think there's huge upsides, but when you hear technology and health, you go right to like robots taking over the world.
yeah, yeah,
And
yes,
there's there's so many things that can be considered technology in healthcare, and there are ways that are less scary that it's helping, and then maybe places where, we always talk about AI as like I was alive and in school when like I remember going to my first computer lab, and like you had to go to the computer lab and it was like this giant box in front of you, and like
oh
you had
yeah,
to type with the little cardboard box over your hands, and just like the conversion from no computers to that, and like the vast way that the world changed, like it's one more thing we're rolling with.
yeah. There are schools that just like allow you to have iPads. Like the school has the iPad, and like you can take it home or whatever, and they have MacBooks, and I'm like, geez, yeah, I remember those computer labs where it was like, we're going to the computer lab, all right, like you were so excited. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, so it's interesting. It's kind of fun. It's kind of scary. And so that's why I guess I was asking a little bit about that was because to your point, there's a lot of good that can happen from it. There's still some things I think kinks they're working out, but um
Yeah. And
it's
there's certainly
exciting.
ethical considerations too. I mean, you have to worry about you put all this data in a cloud about somebody, and
Yeah.
the hackers want your data, they want to sell your data, and they want to ransom against it, and all these things that you have to worry about how things are being protected, how things are being used, and make sure they're not being used against people. So it's not all unicorns and rainbows, but the speed at which technology is moving and then kind of regulations having to try to keep up is an interesting dynamic, to say the least.
Yeah. Do you interact with the wrestling team then at all with your experience and knowledge? Like, do you come in and talk to them about health and wellness and fitness or anything like that?
I don't.
Okay.
They have people that they have on staff that are, more specialized than me. They have a dietitian they work with, and I teach yoga on the side just for fun. And sometimes I
Nice.
put them through a yoga class, and so that's fun.
Yeah.
Um, I do like doing that, but no, they don't. They don't have me talk to them. I don't really like talking in front of big groups of people. But yeah, I do enjoy doing that part with them, and kind of putting them through a different type of workout that's maybe
Yeah.
what they're used to. It's fun. It's fun to watch them be challenged in a new way in something that
Mhm.
I don't think they necessarily expect it to be a challenge. And then it's different. I mean, how many of them stand on one leg for, a few minutes at a time and move their body around? So um, that I think is fun. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking like yoga can turn like the most masculine guy into like, you can just see them crumble in front of you because of how difficult poses can be. So I'm just imagining, you have this group of 40 kids that are wrestlers and tough and whatever, and then they're like, yeah, doing the I forget what it's called, the pose where like the warrior pose or warrior two or something, and they're like, I can't do it.
Or even, it's been good for me too, because I teach classes that are all like yogis, like people that do yoga all the time. And so
Yeah.
you get these guys, like big guys, like heavyweight guys and 197-pound guys trying to sit in downward facing dog for like 2 minutes at a time. And I forget how much weight they're having to hold on their hands because,
True. Yeah.
you know, there's not really usually a whole lot of giant men that take my classes. So, but
True.
it's good. And I think it's good for them. And definitely, I mean, like the health benefits of yoga for wrestling are huge. So I'm glad that they do it, and they do it somewhere else too. I don't do it all the time. I'm way too
Hmm.
busy for that. But and they have people who are full-time yoga instructors that probably do a better job. Um, but no, I think it's fun. I think it's a good challenge for them, and I think it's good for them to move their body in a different way that.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're like, oh, it's hot. Like we sit in the sauna all the time. I'm like, yeah, but do you stand on one leg and then bend over and put your leg up in the air behind you while you're doing it? So, no, that's fun. I love doing that. So,
Yeah. When did you get into yoga?
well, I got certified to teach yoga about 2 years ago.
Hmm.
I've been doing it for probably 8 years, I would say. So, I love it. And then unfortunately for me, not unfortunately, but
Yeah.
for the yoga journey, I got certified to teach, and then I started teaching at Iowa State right around the same time. And so
Mhm.
um, my personal practice has fallen way off, which is unfortunate. I teach twice a week still, but
Oh, that's
don't,
still pretty good, like twice a week.
yeah, I just don't have the time to go participate in my own classes, which has been a bummer. But, you know, every semester I get my feet under me a little bit more. And so maybe I'll have more time moving forward.
Do
But,
you have to like recertify in that, or like how long is that certification good for?
well, as long as you stay up on it, like doing continuing ed, you don't have to
Hmm.
do it. So I did a 200-hour certification at a place down in Des Moines, and then you register with like Yoga Alliance, and you
Hmm.
have to teach a certain amount of hours every year for every
Gotcha.
3 years, and then do a certain amount of continuing ed. So as long as you stay up with it, you're good.
Yeah. I'm wondering like, has it been good for you to do yoga to just like kind of give you a moment or an hour of just peace of mind? It seems like sometimes, I don't know, and we've only been talking for like half an hour, but like you have a lot of things going on in your mind. And so
Mhm.
it's good that yoga kind of slows you down and just like, okay, this is my 1 hour of inner peace.
Yeah, I mean that's why I got into it because I mean, my house is chaos. Like,
Hmm.
as my kids get older, it gets less chaos. But I mean, my boys are all right around 2 years apart.
Hmm.
The middle two are only like a year and a half apart. So they're wild and they fight and they're loud. And I love it. Like I asked for
Hmm.
this chaos and I love it.
Right.
But yeah, we're just all over the place. And just like the nature of what Brent does for a living is the reality is I'm here alone a lot. And so I needed it, like I needed to go for an hour and just like turn off the noise and just kind of climb into my head. And that's ultimately why I went and got certified too, because it was like I wanted this kind of internal growth and the thing for me. Um, because for almost 13 years, it's been my kids and whatever they need, right? So that's the best part of it. So that's what I miss because when I'm teaching, I don't get to that space. I'm, running the class and trying to guide them. And so that's what I miss the most is like that hour for me to just kind of look in and have quiet and just focus on me and my mind and my body. Because, yeah, there's a lot going on up in here. We were
Hmm.
talking this morning about the mental load of, you know, the kids' schedules and who needs to get where and do they have food and what clothes do they need clean for that practice and do they have they just started baseball yesterday, so do they have their bags packed still from the summer? I don't know. So
Yeah.
all that stuff, you need to take some time. So That's kind of one of my 2026 goals is get back into my yoga practice and take time every day, even if you can't get to a yoga class, to do some mindfulness work and just kind of sit and because it's so easy to just get, your brain all over the place and so many things
Hmm.
going on. And yeah, you just
Yeah.
get lost in the noise in your head sometimes.
Yeah. And I love this because like actually what I do is I try to at least ask all my guests who are, predominantly wrestlers, but what they do to do exactly that. Take a step back from the strenuous schedule of sports, of being a D1 athlete. So, this is just a good life lesson of just in general, people just need to take an hour if they can for themselves, whatever that looks like,
Yeah.
even if you're not an athlete, like if you're a busy mom.
Yeah, just taking that time. And even if it's not an hour, you can work up to that. But here's
Right.
another example of a digital tool that you can use to improve your health and
Oh,
wellness
yep.
is I like to use Insight Timer and they have, meditations that they'll walk you through. Or if you just want like sound bath, but they put a timer on it. So there's tools that, can help because I can't just sit down and be like, okay, I'm gonna sit in silence because it's like, okay, now you have to do this and this and this. And I'm like, okay, just get up. Like you don't have time for this. So
I'm laughing because I'm the same way. Like if the second I would sit down, I'd be like, what? Hold on, what? Like
I'd be like,
things would just add up.
it's just stressing me out more. So
Oh,
it's a
yeah. And this isn't all not to say that Brent hasn't helped along the way too to like get the kids ready too. I don't want to be like
no, I
Kristen's doing everything. Like,
no, I don't want to bash him either because
yeah.
he is so helpful. Like sometimes he'll be like, you could have like one of those husbands that doesn't do anything. I'm like, yeah, I could. I could. That would be unfortunate for me because he's so helpful when he can be. And
Yeah.
um like when he's here, like sometimes I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna be lazy for the morning. You can get the kids out the door for school and I'm gonna stay in bed for another hour.
Nice.
So no, he is so helpful and trying to share the load when he can. And I always talk about like when we first had kids, I was in grad school and he was training like because our first son was born in 2013. And so he was like in the heat of training for, world teams and Olympic teams and I was getting my master's at the time and
Wow.
we kind of had to share the load. And so the thing that I love about that experience, it was such a stressful time in our lives, but like it gave us both the feeling of being the one that's home and being the one that has to do something. So it kind of gives you this interesting perspective that maybe people don't always get if you didn't have that time at home. Because he's like, yeah, I get it. Being home is hard. Like you're not just kicking your feet up watching TV. Like you're making snacks, you're cleaning up snacks, you're changing diapers, you're giving baths, you're feeding people, and then start all over again. So
Mhm.
we're not necessarily in that phase anymore, but
Yeah.
no, he's so helpful because he's been there and he had to be forced to be, you know, what it's like to be home with kids. So he gets it. He's so helpful. So when I say that, kind of like throwing a jab at him, but like playfully because I know he's
Right.
so,
Yeah.
but he also isn't the one that plans their schedules and all that because he can't. He's not
Right.
going to be here because he's got to travel for work and that's the life we chose. So if
Yeah.
I sign him up for baseball, I better figure out what days that's on so I can make sure I can get him there and then that it doesn't conflict with their basketball schedules and whatever. So
Yeah. Um,
I'm complaining a lot. I'm sorry. I'm not
no,
trying.
no, it's not complaining. It's the dynamic of your family, essentially, That's just and that's the way you guys have had, and that's the way it works for you guys. I thought it was a good point that you said that he, was home for like an extended period of time being kind of like a stay-at-home dad, not necessarily, but he was. And so he got that experience. If you think about it, a lot of people don't get that experience, like the the male, companion is working and then the female stays home and they stay home for a little bit. They get a little bit of taste, but not like enough to make an impression, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I mean, and our work place dynamic in the United States doesn't allow for that either. If you
Yeah.
have a job in corporate America, you maybe get like 2 days off. My brother-in-law, he gets 6 months when they have a baby, and that's like unheard of.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Wow.
experience that he gets. Not 6 months. I'm sorry, 6 weeks. 6 weeks. But still, that's way more than anybody else
Yeah.
gets.
Yeah.
And so it's like most jobs don't give you that flexibility to do that, you
Yeah.
know. So, um, yeah, it was good, I think, for both of us. And I replay those years a lot in my mind, and maybe that wasn't ideal for him to, be doing that while he was training, but that's the life we chose. So,
Yeah.
and
I
he's the
bet.
first to not let me second guess that. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
gosh, we shouldn't have done that. And it's like, yeah, but now we wouldn't have Chase if we didn't have a kid then, because
Yeah.
everyone's gonna be different. So, you know.
What was the discussion? I'm not trying to get too personal with this question, but like you're going through a master's, he's training for the world and Olympic teams, and that's when you guys decide, hey, let's have a kid.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
I
but
can't say I've been good at decision making, but we had the conversation like when we were dating and when we were first married that um, he didn't want to have kids going for his first kind of Olympic cycle. And I think we both thought, okay, and then you'll go to the Olympics and that'll be great. And then, we can have a family after that. And
what
then,
about you? Were you on board with that, or was like, or
yeah,
was
because, I wanted him to reach his goals. Like I
right?
was going to do whatever I could to support that. And so I went back to grad school in 2011, but like we didn't have any kids at home. It was like, what does it matter what I'm doing when you know, um, and so I was like, yeah, let's get you through this Olympic cycle. You go to the Olympics and then we'll have a family and it'll be great. You plan everything and then
Mm-hmm.
life happens and you don't make the Olympic team. And so at that point, it was like, okay, well, we can keep doing this for 4 more years. I'm not getting younger, and man, that doesn't matter, but for women, it does.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm not getting younger, or we can just try to do this. And he was on board for that. He always said, we'll make it through 2012 and then we'll reevaluate. And um, was that the best decision for him? Probably not
Yeah.
in terms of the wrestling world, because a big thing with our family, which will probably surprise people, because like you said, people don't think of Brent as this like balanced human being, but like his family, he has balance for that, right? Like
Yeah.
he's not this crazy intense person all the time that's just like, this angry person on the mat, off the mat. And that's not him. And he's always valued that balance between family and work. So he was on board. I don't think I forced him to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I'll say I question that all the time. I'm like, oh, you had to go to grad school, you had to have babies, you couldn't just give him um, this time. And he'll be like, hey, like we chose to live life this way, and I went and I did everything I could, and it wasn't our fault that we had a kid that caused me to, not have reached the goals that I had set. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
whether that's true, I mean, obviously it makes your life harder when you have kids. So obviously that weighed on it, but I don't know. It will be forever one of the things I think about of like, was that really a good choice? But I mean, we did it right, or how
Yeah.
I think you should do it for 2012, and he had the same outcome. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That's kind of a downer the way I'm saying this.
Yeah.
So bad with words. That's why I was like,
No,
you
it's
want one? Because I just lose it. But it's how we chose to do it, and so you can't really go back and change it. And we have four amazing kids from the deal. So
hmm
um, I mean, he's always said like from the day I met him, he's had this kind of, because of things that have happened to him in his life, he's had this perspective of like wrestling is amazing and wrestling is a huge part of my life, but it's not everything. So having that balance for him, I think was also good. Like you know, he
see, there you go. It was good for him. So
I think so. I
give
mean,
yourself some grace.
you
Like,
have this bad day in the wrestling room or you have a bad tournament and it's like you could just dive in and beat yourself up about it, or you can go home and you have these kids that love you unconditionally and they don't care that you just lost, not because they don't care that you didn't do well, but they love you for who you are and it's not your identity. And so you have this balance. So there's goods and bads to it both, but
yeah. What I'll say is, after all that, like, I feel like what you've said isn't anything, and this is why I wanted to have you on, and this is why I'm excited. It's not anything that married, like other wrestlers in this world who have spouses haven't felt or haven't gone through at some point. I mean, the first person that came to mind was Jordan Burroughs. I mean, I think he has like 6 kids. Like, and he's just one example, and Brent's just one example of wrestlers, high level athletes trying to balance having a family while still trying to reach their goals, while their spouse is also trying to reach their goals. Because that's the other dynamic I wanted to get into a little bit was like, you had goals too. And so to try to balance being there for him while you also wanted to, you had aspirations of being a doctor. So
Yeah.
like I'm curious how you balanced that as well, like did you start to get a little anxious? Like it sounds like it may be a little bit like, okay, like when is it going to be my time in a essence, or in a sense?
I think you can go down that road, but there's certainly different approaches you can take. And
Sure.
I have um, quite a few friends in this space, and we've all kind of taken a different path. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like both spouses of people who wrestle, like Lauren Burrows, or people who are spouses of coaches' wives, or people who are spouses of coaches. Well,
Yeah.
and none of our stories are the same, right? Like some people have chosen to be like, I'm going to put my dreams on hold. Or some people have been like, you know what, this is our dream together. We're going to do this together. Or some people have
Yeah.
pursued their own things. And so I think every couple is different in what works. And we chose to just both kind of go after it. Now, mine was a little less intense than his, I will say. So when it comes to like, I would always be like, okay, I have this thing, but it can wait because this thing of yours is more time intensive and more pressing
Sure.
and needs more of our energy right now. But I think the fact that we both were doing things and trying to reach separate goals but together at the same time, it just allowed us this different perspective of kind of being partners to each other and like, how can I help you reach your goal? And not like, sorry, I need this. Like, give me what I need. It's more like, okay,
Mhm.
can we do this together? Now, I'm not saying I've never had those moments where it's like, oh, like, can't this just be my
Sure. Of
day?
course.
Or. Um, but I think overall, when I look back over the last 20 years, I think we've been good partners to one another. And how can I help you? How can I make your life easier? And you also kind of push each other too, right? Because it's like if I'm
Yeah.
asking you to watch our kids in between your practice, right? Because you wake up, you have a morning workout, and then you have a little break where you're supposed to be resting, and then you go to another practice in the afternoon. If I'm asking you to stay home and watch kids instead, I better be making the most of my time that I asked you to do that for, right? So I'm not going to go twiddle my thumbs, or I'm going to go and I'm going to get my stuff done and I'm going to make it
Mhm.
a while. So I think it kind of, pushed us both. And I also will say that my dad was like our children's primary caregiver for a little children.
Really?
It's so funny because I love my dad, but like my mom was my primary caregiver growing up. Like, he
Mhm.
wasn't like Mr. Mom or anything, but he
Yeah.
was at our house. Like, it was like, hey, I have this lab meeting. Brent has this workout to be at. Like, you got Chase. So him and Chase spent like so much time together for the first couple
Mhm.
years of his life. So you can't do it alone either. So I would say Brent and I were a good mix to work together as a partnership, but we had help. So I can't sit here and pretend like we did it all alone because
Right.
my parents in town and specifically my dad, who had a lot of flexibility during the day, who could just kind of step in with no notice. I mean, when we moved to Ames, that was like the biggest thing. I was like, oh my gosh, like we're here alone.
Hmm.
We're only 2 hours away from my family, but like there's no one I can call. I don't know anybody in this town. I can't be like, hey,
Yeah.
come on over real quick.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm blabbering. Sorry.
No, you're good. When did all of that like start to even become a conversation of, well, first off, let me ask you, when did you meet Brent?
I met Brent in 2006. So he had just moved to Iowa City. Um, it was in the fall. I remember it was the day we played Purdue. Uh, it's like your brain's full of so many things, but I remember
Yeah,
it.
right.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Yep. I feel that.
Yeah. So I at the time was living with Terrence Ertzis. Alex Sertzis wrestled at Iowa, and they were just dating at the time. Now they're married.
Yeah.
But she was my college roommate. And so I met him through them the day that Iowa played Purdue.
Wow. How did you meet? You said Taryn. How did you meet Taryn?
Taryn and I met through a mutual friend, through jobs. So we had a mutual friend named Lindsay. She did not marry any wrestlers. But her and I worked together at a restaurant, and her and Taryn worked together at a bank, and they were roommates. And I had been living with my parents at the time, and so they were
Mhm.
like, "Move in with us." So the three of us moved into a house of my dad's, and yeah, they're she's they're both great. They're both really
Yeah.
good friends to this day. Um, but yeah, so and like it was just kind of random because
Right.
we're not like a party house. We were nothing. I just remember it was the Purdue football game because they had a bunch of friends from Indiana in town. That's where they're from. And
Yeah.
um, so we never like, had people at our house or anything. And it just happened to be this time. And he had just moved there and was like, fine, I'll come over and hang out. And so,
Wow. So he had been there a couple, maybe a month.
yeah. Yeah.
And what were first impressions?
Um, there is disagreement here. And um, I remember meeting him and I, you know, thought he was great right out the gate. Like
Yeah.
I remember the night I met him, he will tell you that I recognized his name and I'm like, I had no idea who you were. My extent of following wrestling was like I would tag along with Taryn sometimes to the wrestling meets. Like if I did not have any concept of what was happening in the world around me in wrestling. And he's
Really?
like, you heard my name. I'm like, no, if I heard your name, it meant nothing to me. Like I had,
Yeah.
and so I think he just gives me a hard time. But
Right.
so, but the thing I remember about that night is I asked him to tell me his life story, and he did. And he told me it like, sorry. He told me it, and he told me like, I mean, I met him in the same day. He's telling me, you know, basically almost exactly a year ago, my brother passed away, and he's like talking through all this stuff. And I just remember being like, okay, wow, like this is not how people like most people are. You know what I mean? You're
Right.
like, tell me
Yeah.
my story. And they're like, well, I go to Iowa and like I was just like, wow, you were like brutally honest and just like putting everything out there. And I think he's been that way since I met him, like he's not very
Yeah.
mysterious, like where he stands. He will tell you what he's thinking and he doesn't hide things. He's had really bad things happen in his life and he's had really good things happen in his life and he keeps him in balance and he keeps perspective. And I think that day that I met him was just like, wow, I've never met anybody like you before. And I think I still think that.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anybody else I've ever met like him. He's a
Yeah.
different being.
Did you tell him your life story then too? Did you reciprocate?
I mean, no, my life
Ah.
story was not that exciting, right? I was like, well, I told him the story probably I was expecting to get from him. But
Yeah.
so yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think we have different opinions of, like I, I honestly woke up the next day and I was like, I want to marry that guy. And I don't know if he felt the same way. Probably not. I
Mhm.
don't think college guys think that way, but we got him around. But
Yeah, right. When did you realize like the train that you were on, like, whoa, this like because there are college athletes who like the sport, who love the sport but they almost feel like you can tell it's a college thing.
yeah,
When did you start to feel like this is like a big thing and I need to like have this hard conversation with myself? Like, what's that?
bring myself up to speed.
Yeah, yeah. And I need to like, wow, I need to figure out if I need to get on this train or not. Like, I'm sure that was that a hard realization for you, kind of?
Um,
If you can remember, I know that was like,
I remember, so I mean, I met him in the fall and he couldn't wrestle that year. I mean, for the team that year. But I remember
right,
I went along to his I mean, and in our first meeting conversation, like he told me he was going to be a world champ, he was going to be Olympic champ, like those were the things. Like this is my life this far and this is where we're going. And so I'm kind of like, yeah, okay. that sounds
Right.
right.
Yeah.
And then I remember the very first time I watched him wrestle. We went to it was the UNO, University of Nebraska Omaha, the Open,
Hmm.
and um, I never watched him wrestle before. I watched his first match, and it was over in like 30 seconds. And I remember I turned to Jenny Branson. I was like, "Oh, he's like good at this," and she looked at me like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Like she looked at me like, "Oh, what?" And I just had no idea, you know? And so, but still then you're like, oh, okay, well, he did good at this tournament. Um, but, and I remember the first time my dad met him and we were having a Christmas party at my parents' house and I brought him along and he was telling my dad that he wrestled, you know, and my dad goes, so do you think you'll make the lineup? And he was like, you know, I hope so. Like, that's exactly how he responded to it. I like, you dumb dumb. But like, you know, he's not contrary to maybe what it appears on the outside, you know, he's like, oh, I hope so, you know, like I think I got a good shot, but
Hmm.
he wasn't like, well, yeah, duh. Um, so I mean, but still that whole first year, like I didn't really get to watch him do anything. And so that first year watching him compete for Iowa was super fun, super stressful. You know, I told you I'm high strung. So every
Hmm.
match I was so nervous and he'd be like, why are you so nervous? I don't, and I'm like, I don't know. So, and then, you know, right away he was going to open tournaments and like the US Open, I mean, like wrestling
Yeah.
freestyle in summer. So I kind of knew in that right away in that first year, like this is gonna be our thing. So if you don't like wrestling, so but I mean, I love watching him compete, so it was all fun and yeah, I don't know. But you're right, it definitely was a conversation I had to have, like, okay, this is gonna be a thing. Do you
Yeah.
want this to be your life or don't you? Because it's what it's gonna be.
Yeah. Especially coming from somebody who isn't involved in the sport. You know, like if you were grew up in the sport, like you understand. But coming from a different perspective, yeah, you had thoughts of being a doctor, and now you're like, now I'm like hopping on this wrestling train. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that was that a difficult conversation that you had with yourself and like, or was it a little easier than you anticipated?
Well, I think the conversations I had to have with myself about me not being a doctor were probably
Hmm.
different conversations. Those were like, hey, how much time are you spending in the library? How much time are you spending putting in extra work? And so that was probably more a me thing.
Yeah.
Because I think I could have, you know, pursued that too if I would have been willing to put in the work, but I was interested in other things. But in terms of kind of going on this journey with Brent, I think that was easy because you know, like I said, like he kind of blew me away from the moment I saw him and like met him, you know,
Yeah.
to know him, that it was like, this is gonna be fun. And it was. I mean, it is,
Mhm.
it still is.
Yeah.
I mean, like the adventures that we have been through for the last 20 years, it's been so fun. I can't imagine like we always like we joke because I'll be like, oh, it's the weekend, you're gone again. And he's like, well, you want me to go get a 9 to 5 job? And I'm like, no, I don't like the things, the places we've gone and the things that we've gotten to do and just like watching him, like how many people get to watch their spouse really live out what they love to do every day? Like I like teaching, but I don't love it as much as he loves wrestling, you know, and
Mhm.
if your husband does finance, like does he love finance? Like,
Right.
you know, and maybe he does, and that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
But um I just it's crazy. It's been so fun and I just think it's great that he gets to do like we always joke about like I'm like, oh, you gonna go on a bros trip again this weekend? Because it doesn't feel like he's going. I mean, and I know it's hard work and it's exhausting and it is what
Sure.
it
Sure.
is. But he's just going to do something else he loves. And I think that's great. And not many people
Mhm.
get to do that or get to see their spouse do that. And so watching him compete and then to now, like it's just been a fun journey.
When he was competing, how did you handle the moments of like disappointment? Because like we always see, and that's another reason why I wanted to talk to you was because we always see the athlete and we always are like, man, I bet that sucks for them. But like, how about the spouse that's in the stands that's like going through this journey with them the whole time hand in hand and like is also living with like gosh, my person that I care so much about fell short and is devastated. Like, how did you handle all of that?
It's hard, you know. It's been a little while, so I'm a little bit removed, but it is really hard because you see on like an intimate level how much it matters to them. You see how much time they put in. You see how much time they spend in every aspect of their life doing it right. And I mean, you don't see that from the other people, even though you know they're doing the same thing. But
Right.
you just see how important it is to them. And then, like when you're first together and you talk about all these goals and dreams that they have and how important they are to them, and then you see them work towards it. And then when they fall short, it's crushing. Is a different crushing than I would say for the athlete themselves because they're the one doing the work and they're the one putting
Mhm.
it out there. So Brent's always said to me, like, I know I did everything that I could. Like, I know that I trained as hard as I could. I know I did everything right. And it just fell short. It wasn't my day. Um, and to me, I'm just like, I watched you do that. And you just want it so badly to be different for them because you see him doing it right and you see how hard he works. And then you look at yourself and you're like, what could I have done differently?
I
And
was
like,
thinking that.
oh, don't have a kid. Okay, well, Jordan Burroughs has kids too, and it worked out differently for him. It's everyone's story is different, and but it's crushing. It's really hard, and I just always had faith that he would do it because I watch how hard he works, and I know how much it means to him, and so it's really hard. It still is, and we still have conversations about it. Um, but you know, again, he has a lot of perspective in his life, and we both do. So, at the end of the day, is that the worst thing that can happen to us? No. And everything happens for a reason. So, you know, you use that to fuel something else. But um, no, we have a beautiful family and everyone's healthy, and we've had bad things happen to us that help keep it in perspective. And you don't need to have bad things happen to you to keep it in perspective, but yeah, it's hard.
How did you get through those hard times? Like after something like that happens, you want to be there for your partner, but like there's also a sense of like you sort of need to, I don't want to say you need to like heal, but you need to kind of process what just happened too as a spouse and as someone who cares deeply about this person. Like, so while you're being there for them, you're not able to like allow yourself to feel like the disappointment as well. So like how did you start to process those emotions while still being there for him? Does that make sense? Do you understand what
Yeah,
I'm trying to say?
yeah. Um, I just keep saying it's hard because it is.
It
Because
is, yeah. I can't imagine.
and be supportive and uplifting for them while you feel this like crushing inside of you as well. Um, the good thing, I would say um, after he lost in the Olympic trials in 2012 and 2016, he went off on his own for like the rest of the day. He didn't, disappear off the grid or go away for a week, but he just that day he would go out and he would both times if I'm recalling correctly. He went home and got our dogs and then went out to one of our family friends' farms where he spent a lot of time and just like walked with them and like just him and the dogs. So he had time to kind of like decompress. And so I had time before I had to really, get into the nitty gritty with him for me to kind of have my moment too. And then like that night he would come home and be like, okay. And so then we'd have to kind of work through that. And also, I don't know, he is like he's a really strong emotionally well person that like I was there for him, but it's not like he needed me to scoop him up off the ground with like he's like obviously like my life dream just kind of fell apart, but I guess I'll wake up in the morning and go to wrestling practice, like we'll just keep moving. So but yeah, it's hard for you because you aren't really the one that experienced it, even though you're kind of like an adjunct to it. So you have
Yeah.
your own kind of sadness about it for them and seeing how much that meant to them. But but you got to be strong for them. So I don't really know how you do it. You just
Yeah.
do it. But having some time apart was certainly helpful because it was like, okay, let me process this and then we'll come together and process it together. So,
And then while this was going on, you were still like you were going for your master's, like you had some things that you in the works too. Like, how did you stay on track after something like that? I know it didn't necessarily quote like it didn't happen to you. No, you didn't lose, but like in a sense, in a way, like you could it's almost worse because he had the realization or the self perspective of I did everything I could do. I did it. But you as like a second party or like a third party, you're like, what could I have done more? Like it's almost like you have it a little worse, in a sense. But how did you stay, you know, firm in everything that you were doing when you just witnessed something so devastating too? Like you still had to watch the kids and get your homework done and pursue your goals. Like the world
yeah,
doesn't just stop for you either.
no, no, it didn't. Um, no, that was definitely hard. I think it was harder in 2016 when we had two kids because it was like, you know, they were, I mean, Cole was a little baby. He didn't know what was going on, and Chase wouldn't remember it now. But at the time, he was two or no, I guess he was three. He was three. So he was, like a part of this whole thing. And so then, you know, they don't understand really what's going on, but they can feel that like we're sad
Sure.
and bad things are, bad emotions are coming out. So, but you just gotta, I mean, having them helped, I think. It's like you come home and you have this little 3-year-old that's so excited to give you a hug. His life is not changed because of what just happened. And so I think it makes it a little easier to come home to. Um, and again, you need to take that time alone to kind of process what happened. But I think they made it better. I think they made it easier because it's like, you know what? This isn't in the cards for us, but we have these amazing kids that are healthy and are so happy that we're here and are gonna love you regardless of what you did. I think it helps. Now, getting up and forcing yourself to go to work sometimes is hard, but
Yeah.
you just got to make it happen, I guess. I can't even tell you how it was a long time ago. I don't even know how I did it, but you just do it, I guess. I feel like when you're in grad
Yeah.
school, you have this like mindset where you're just like, well, pick yourself up and get it done. It was like we had kids and it was like, well, okay, your baby's brand new, but you got to go back in there and grade this homework. So you just make it happen.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that having our children was more of a help than it was a hindrance because it gave you something else. And it gave you,
Yeah.
like our whole world was wrestling. Like that's all we did. I mean, obviously I was going to school and whatever, but like in terms of like the big things in our life, like him going and competing internationally and him making world teams, like that's what our life was. And so having the kids was like, this isn't the only piece about life. This is like life will go on after this and life can still be great after this. Now, does it
Hmm.
suck? Yeah, it does suck, but it's not our path. So
Yeah.
I
I mean,
mean, nothing you can do to change it now, but I can
yeah.
promise you that if anybody has thought through, well, what if we'd have done this? What if I would have done this? If I would have done this instead? Like you can bet that those thoughts have been in my mind for 10 years. So I mean,
Yeah.
not
I'm just
not all day, every day. I don't sit there and
right.
but it's like they creep in and like I could have done so many things differently. But you know, that's life.
Yeah. And you could have done so many things differently and the outcome still might have been
Yeah,
the same,
yeah,
you
it could
know?
have been different. Things could have been so much worse. He could have gotten like
Yeah.
really hurt. He could, he somehow came out of that many years of wrestling at that level, like pretty much unscathed. Like his
That's
body
impressive.
functions great. you know, like he's not, I mean, he's still fairly young, but there's still time for his knees to give out, I guess. But and it was a fun ride for 10 years.
Yeah. And I'm just imagining like how can you be mad when you come home and you're a kid, after like I understand not really, but like I can understand if you come home and like you just had this devastating loss on the mat and the kid's like, "Hey, look, I made Play-Doh spaghetti. You want to eat some? You want to try it?" And you're like, Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Like,
that looks
oh,
great.
yes.
Something in our family, we've always been we've been very like outward show of emotion. And so my kids will like, maybe not my almost 13-year-old anymore, but like when they see like their dad, when they see their grandparents, it's like a running, excited hug. I'm so excited to see you. So it's like, I don't know how you could stay in a sad mood when you got these cute little kids running at you. Although now they're big enough to like tackle you, maybe. So maybe it's not now, but so I don't know. This we'll never know. But
Yeah. How do you deal with those thoughts? Because again, like I I don't think you're the only significant other that will have those thoughts or has had those thoughts that if I would have done something differently, I could have changed the outcome. Like, how do you deal with them? And like if someone listening is like, man, I have those thoughts too, what
uh,
would you say?
I would say, whether this is right or not, when I have those thoughts, I talk to Brent about it. Um, there's not very many feelings I have that I keep inside. I'm kind of like a let it out there, let it fly. So whether or not that's the right approach, because part of me wants to be like, no, that's his pain to take. You keep yours. Like, don't burden him with your pain because he's got his own there. Um, but I tell myself that and then it all just comes flying out because it's how I cope with things. Um, and so we talk about it and he's like, and so he will talk with me and be like, these are choices we made together. And I didn't miss workouts. I mean, I think I could probably tell you two workouts that he missed during those times because of like massive things that happened at our house that we needed him. Um, so it was like, and he's like, you tried your best. Like, I remember before the Olympic trials in 16, we sent our boys to stay with their grandparents for a couple of weeks because it was like, he needs rest and we need this time. So it's like, we tried our best. But I think talking to him about it is what makes me feel better because he's like,
Mhm.
this is what I did to try to make that team. And that's what needed to be done to try to make that team. And us living our life alongside of that. Um, you know, whether or not that was what changed the outcome, it's how we chose to do it. And he
Mhm.
is like so good at being like, don't look back at what you could do different because you can't go back and do it. So what good does that do you to look back? So this is one of those other things where like I want that to be one of the things from him that I absorb is like the don't look back and stew over what happened because you can't change it. So
Mhm.
if that's what it was, okay, that's the life we chose. So
I heard the story that after 2016, there may have been a conversation between you two where he was like, "All right, you know what? I'm done. It's your turn to kind of go chase your dream." Is there any truth to that? That there was like a conversation where he was like, "All right, I've done, you've given me the opportunity to chase everything. Now it's my turn to take a step back and let you like kind of switch roles here."
yeah. Um, I would say, yeah. I mean, I remember us having a conversation like that and him saying things like that, but it was also like I hadn't been held back. You know what I mean? We
Yeah,
didn't
yeah,
have that relationship where it was like, all right, I'm gonna let you do this and I'm gonna wait. And maybe I should have done that, but I didn't. So um and so I didn't really feel like there was something I had to do, but we did have a conversation where it was like, he wasn't sure what his future was going to look like. He wasn't
yeah,
sure what he wanted to do for a job. I mean, there was a time where he was like, I don't even know if I want to stay in wrestling because there's like this kind of pain associated with it now.
for sure.
And so it was kind of like what do you want to do? Like if this is your time to go chase down something you want to do, let's do it. But I was actually still tethered to the university because I was still in grad school. So I was like, I can't go finish this up. I started this, I got to finish it out.
Mhm.
Right. And so, but there were like, I remember some like phone calls that would come in with like potential job offers and him being like, nope, my wife's in grad school. I'm not leaving here right now. Like he was willing to stay there and do nothing so that I could finish out my goals. And that speaks pretty loudly to me. Like,
Yeah.
we could have done the distance thing. And ultimately when he ended up taking the job with USA Wrestling, we did a little bit of the distance thing because but I was going to graduate, or I was going to be done with my in-person like assistantships in the spring. And so it was like, okay, we can do this for a short amount of time. But it was like he
Yeah.
was not going to make us do this distance thing where he would go work someplace else and I would stay at home with the kids and try to finish grad school. Like, so I'll never forget that because it was like it would have been so easy to be like, oh, I got a job offer. I'm gonna go do this and I'll come
Yeah.
visit on the weekends, or not really the weekends because wrestling's busy on the weekends. So I'll come visit when I can. But you and the kids stay here because I mean our kids are nuts. And at that time, I mean, when we moved to Ames, our kids were 5 months old, 2 and 4. That was like crazy train. Like hear us coming from a mile away. So um so yeah, he definitely like put some things on hold to be like, no, this is your time to finish. And then ultimately when we moved here, it was like we waited to move here until I had finished out my year. I still had a year left to finish, but I was just writing, and so I could do that from anywhere. So I could do that from here. But
Hmm.
so yeah, and I think that's big for somebody who has such big goals
Yeah.
in life to be like, yeah, this is your time. I'm not going to leave you here with all these kids while I go figure it out, you know? So
Yeah.
I give Brent a lot of credit for being so invested and so good at what he does, but being so invested in our family and being a good dad and husband as well. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, for sure.
hard to do both of those, but he's good at it.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it like, when he was competing and going through that, what was it like you to did you bring the kids along to international trips or anything? Like, how did all that dynamic work having a child? I mean, you had two kids basically when he was still competing. Like, as a mom, like, and a wife, like, what was that like for you to, you
That
know?
was hard. Because I would take them to everything in the United States. So,
Hmm.
like I have pictures of Chase, who's like 3 months old at, I want to say it was maybe the World Team Trials in Stillwater in 2018. Um, and so, like, me and my sister-in-law got in the car and we drove all the way to Stillwater from Iowa City. So that I tried to kind of bring them along and have them be a part of it. But when we would go overseas, I would one have to pick what I went to. Also, I mean, wrestling wasn't what it is now, and I was in grad school, so I couldn't afford to fly internationally to see everything. But
True. Yeah.
um, I remember the last World Championships we went to. I can't remember. I think it was just Chase at the time. We left him with Allison Schwab. She watched him for a week while I went to.
What? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, because it was like our parents wanted to go. So I couldn't ask one of them to stay back because they were like, both of our parents were super supportive in going and watching him as well. So it was like, they're not going to stay back. So thankfully she, stepped up and kept him for me. But I did not take them to those things. But that's still my problem. Like as a coach's wife is like, we want to go to everything, but the kids are getting older. They're in school. They have limited time that they can miss. We have, like a set amount of days before they, turn me into the county attorney.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't send them to school enough. So it's like we got to pick and choose what you go to, and that's hard because
Yeah.
competing, I was at everything. Like I mean, I didn't go to like Krasnoyarsk because that's kind of scary to me, but
Yeah.
like, pretty much every time he competed, I was there, and so I like to do that. And now,
Yeah.
wrestling's kind of our life. So I like to go and watch. And so when I can't always go, like next weekend they're in Oklahoma, but the kids can't miss Friday and Monday of school. So we just got to work.
Yeah. Did you do that when like if he would go internationally and you would have to, you'd stay back, did you like wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and find the live stream if there was at that time? I don't even know if they were streaming it at then.
People a hard time about this because I'm like, you guys don't even know how hard it is to follow these tournaments. Like now it's like streamed everywhere and you got these
Yeah.
Twitter updates. Like me trying to follow him wrestling in Krasnoyarsk in 2013. I'm on some like dark web website trying to watch some live stream where I'm sorry, but when you wrestle like 65 kilos, everybody looks the same. like you're all the same size,
Yeah.
same kind of height and build, and you all got dark hair and dark beards. And I'm like laying in my bedroom in the dark with the blanket over my head, like trying to watch it. So yeah, yeah, that was I always laugh when I tell people about that because they're like, "Oh, I gotta wake up." I'm like, "At least you know where to watch it." Like I'm
Yeah.
surfing like weird websites trying to figure this out, and then like the quality's so bad you can't tell who's wrestling. So you're like, "I think that's an American flag," but all flags are like have the same color scheme, so I don't really know.
Yeah. And it's probably really can't think of the word where like it's all pixelated. It's very pixelated maybe, so like you can't even like
Clear, like it was not like 4K or whatever you call it these days. I don't know. It was hard. So yeah, no, I wish I had like Flow Wrestling covering everything and,
yeah.
somebody updating the Twitter stream nonstop. I did not have that. Or,
Yeah.
I think I know what happened. And then he'd call me and be like, no, this is what happened. I'm like, oh, I must have been watching somebody from like Georgia thinking it was you. I don't know.
I was cheering so loud
So
and
excited for him. I'm sorry.
oh, that's fun. Oh, the good old days. Yeah. Back when
Glad they've made it easier now, but it would have been nice if it could have been a little easier 20 years.
yeah. Yeah, right. Well, hey, it's only been, 10
Yeah,
to
that's
14.
right. We've come a long ways in 10 years.
Yeah, we're not that old yet.
No.
I'm 34, but
Oh, geez. No, you're so.
when he got done wrestling and you were figuring out your path, like what were those conversations like in terms of what are next steps for the family? Because that can be a big, difficult decision too for athletes and their significant others when things are done. Because you still like you you were pursuing something that like you probably wanted to do in life. Like it wasn't like I'll just go wherever. I mean, it kind of was, but also like, I mean, you wanted to do something too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we definitely had to have a conversation of like, which one of us are we going to follow? Right? Like,
Yeah.
because the chances of us both finding a job in our ideal career at the same location is slim. So, which one of us are we going to follow? And for a while after 2016, he didn't really know, like he was kind of like, I've been in this like one track mind for so long. So he needed some time to just kind of figure it out. And so for that year, he was helping out at one of the local high schools and coaching there while we were he was just kind of like figuring out. And he was, thinking about other options, other careers so that we could go where I needed to go. And then, um, this job just kind of was like thrust into his lap and I was like, you gotta take it. Like I can, if I need to, I can because I felt pretty confident about my ability to get a job in the department that I was in.
Hmm.
I think I had, set myself up to show them that I had value there. So
Nice.
I need to commute, I can. Like if I need to figure it out, which, I taught adjunct at DMAC some and I just kind of figured it out. I'm like,
Hmm.
we'll figure it out. Unfortunately, in like when you're hired as an assistant, they don't necessarily do, like if you get a job as a head coach, you can be like, hey, but my wife needs a job, but they don't
Hmm.
do that for assistant coaches. So I just had to wait and be patient. But him having that year to kind of figure it out was um, didn't seem like what we wanted at the time, but in the end, it was exactly what he did need because it gave him that kind of freedom and time to weigh different options and be like, well, maybe I don't even want to be in this wrestling world anymore. And I'm glad he had that time to figure it out because I can't imagine he's like the little Energizer bunny. Like I can't imagine somewhere. Um, so I'm glad that he kind of had this opportunity to just go dabble and see if that's what he wanted to do and find out that he actually really loves coaching. And so it worked out well.
Yeah. When he came home one day and said, "Hey, Iowa State called me," I mean, were you like, "Tss," like, what? Like, come on now. Like, what?
Yeah, I have opinions and I had a lot of feelings about it, multiple reasons.
Mhm.
Uh, but I remember when he called me and I laughed. I was like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen. And then he was like, well, actually, we should talk about it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, let's talk about it then. So it was like you had this like knee-jerk response of like, why would we do that? And
Yeah.
then um and then it was like, well, why not? Because you like the Hawkeyes, like, okay.
Yeah.
So no, it was, I remember when he called and it was just surprising. I wasn't expecting it. Um, I had had people reach out to me and say, "Hey, I heard that you guys are going to Iowa State," and we had never spoken to anybody that was here. Um, Kevin, no, and I'm like, oh, not that I'm aware of, like, no one's talking about this, but okay. And then it's like a week later, then he gets this call from Kevin, and it's like, oh, well, yes, gossip sometimes does have some some backing behind it, you know,
Mhm.
where there's smoke, there's fire. But so it ultimately ended up being an easy decision because it was like as a great opportunity. And it was so he was like at the time when he was offered this job, he was working remotely with USA Wrestling. And so we were actually getting ready to go to Colorado Springs and look at houses like that weekend.
Wow.
Because I was still in grad school, so we weren't moving until the summer. Um, and it just kind of worked out. And it was like, okay, well, we're going to be 2 hours down the road from my family, which is better than 12. Uh,
Yeah.
and just a great opportunity that was kind of plopped in his lap. So it was like perfect timing. And really, it's been just the perfect fit. Like, we love Ames. It's a great town. So, and everyone always asks me that here. They're like, "Oh, was it so hard for you being like a from
Yeah.
the city?" And it's like it's not hard when you're you're plucked here and then you're like immersed in the
Yeah.
community and you like get to know the team and you get to know the other coaches and you get to know all the people around Ames and all the people that work in the athletic department and it's hard not to, you know, it's like that was easy because
Yeah.
you want to cheer for your people and they quickly become your people. And so, no, it was not hard. And then people ask me that about Brent too. And it's like, well, he grew up in Michigan. So he grew up like Michigan, Ohio State was his rivalry.
Mhm.
It was like, I don't really care about Iowa State. I mean, once he moved here, obviously, but it wasn't like he was like born and bred with that, you know? So,
Yeah.
um, so no, it was actually the easy choice, despite my initial response of, so.
No, I get that. So I eventually went back to school and I graduated from University of Nebraska and got to meet some of those wrestlers and see the coaches. And I'm like, at first, like obviously there's that hatred, like I
Yeah.
hate, but then you start to just kind of mingle a little bit. And you're like, okay, you're not so bad. And then, the other night when they dueled, like, was I pulling for Iowa a little bit more? Yeah, but like there's the there's still this like these are all good wrestlers. They're all good people. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
You get to know people as
yeah,
people. Like it's easy to hate, you know, like that obnoxious fan that you see that like dumped their beer on you because they're being rude. That's like
yeah, for
it's
sure.
easy to hate people for that. But like when you know people and like, you know, like the people around you, like the people in the program and the people you get to know are good people, like
Yeah.
it's easy to root for them.
Yeah, and that leads me to a question here about like social media and I know it wasn't quite as big back when Brent was wrestling, but even now when he's coaching, like how do you as a spouse sort of shut that out? And I mean, I'm sure it can be hard at times when there's people out there saying Brent's like a traitor or who knows what they're saying. Oh, he didn't even make an Olympic team. They could be saying all sorts of stuff. I don't even know. But like, how did you handle all that, and how do you continue to handle all that to this
Um,
day?
I handle it by not reading it
Okay.
because so when we were in college, I used to read the message boards and I would get so mad. Like, I'm sorry, and I don't want to make this sound like he was out there kicking people's butts. Like he was
Yeah.
doing so good. Like his first year in college, right? He was doing amazing. And somebody has something bad to say, it's like, come on. Like this is a conversation we're having in our house right now with my oldest child because we're like watching the football game last night and he's like, "Oh, that's trash." And I'm like, "You don't call somebody trash who is out there doing something at such a high level that you
Yeah.
don't." Like that's like number one rule in my house. And I think because of what I dealt with when he was in college, it's like
Mhm.
you don't get to be an armchair expert. If you're out there and you're playing football or you're wrestling and you're doing it and you have an honest opinion, you can share that. But you don't get to talk trash about somebody when you're sitting on your couch watching them do it, right?
Yeah.
So, from the flip side, I'm trying to really instill that in my children right now. It's clearly
Yeah.
not working. But no, my best is to just avoid it because I let it get to me and I get so mad when I read things. And sometimes things find me. I usually don't find it because I'm not like searching social media for it, but somebody will send me something and be like, look at this thing I found. And it always surprises me. Like this happened to me just a couple of weeks ago, actually. Somebody showed me something that they saw on Facebook and I was like, just so not expecting it because I'm like, he's not like in a limelight. He's not competing. He's not doing like, why are people talking about him? Right. And I see it and I'm just like blown away. Like, where did you come up with this? And why are you talking about it right now? But it gets me so angry because I
Yeah.
want to be like, that's not true. And this is why I know that's not true. But I can't do that because
Yeah.
you can't reply to everybody and be, because then you just look like an idiot too. So yeah, I think my best advice is don't read it. Just don't even do it. So if I like see a post about him, I do everything I can to just not look at the comments because it'll make me mad. Because everybody has an opinion, you know? Some people think he's great.
Right.
Some people hate him and think he's the biggest a-hole on the planet. So somebody's gonna have something to say, and I'm not
Yeah.
going to like it, and it's not going to bring out my best. And I say angry things and be in an angry mood. And yeah.
Yeah, it kind of gives a little more light to like how Allison Schwab does it, like she does a good job. And it must be like a talent or something, because I'm with you. Like, I mean, I'm sure she just wants to just freaking let him have it, but she
I
doesn't.
No, she doesn't. She keeps her cool and she engages with people.
Yeah.
I don't, she doesn't. My best is I don't post anything. So that's another thing is I don't try to bring it upon myself and
Yeah.
post anything because I hate conflict. I do not want to fight with strangers on
Yeah.
the internet. I don't want to fight with people in my house. I don't like it. I don't thrive in that scenario. Some people like to, but no. Allison is one of my best friends, but I don't think we could be more different. And she's good at what she does, and I just stay away because
Yeah.
I can't do it how she does it.
Yeah. When you see something like that, do you like something still like because Brent still to this day is sort of like I don't want to say he's a lightning rod, but he's still a talking point. I mean, when you bring up NCAA wrestling, you're like, it's one of the first, like, when you're in this generation now, Brett Metcalf is one of the first people you think of, like, man, oh, man, you remember Metcalf? Like, him
Remember when he
pinning
pushed
Bubba
somebody?
Jenkins. What's that?
Do you remember when he pushed somebody? That's always what I
Oh, yes. Oh, what'd you think of that? That's a great point. I forgot all about that.
shouldn't have said that.
When that happened, what?
Usually what comes up is people are like, "Oh, didn't he try to kill somebody?" I'm like, "No, I don't think that's probably what he was trying to do. Maybe it wasn't his best moment or choice in life, but I don't think he was like trying to hurt him."
No, no. I mean, the thing that pops into my mind was when he was getting beat by Bubba Jenkins and Carver, and then he came back and freaking I think he Win Dixied him or something, or he cow catcher and just stuck him in the plate. I think I was there, and the place just went wild. It was insane.
See,
That's
I
my
get
first memory
so
of Brent.
nervous that I like black out. Like I don't remember a specific match. Like I can't remember that. Like I was there, but
Yeah,
I just think I get so nervous that it's gone. I don't
yeah.
remember. It's
So like
probably
the Caldwell push, you don't really like that's gone too.
well, I don't think that one's allowed to be gone because, like, I mean, okay, so we vacation every year with our extended family, like my brother, his sister, his cousins, all of our kids, and they all came downstairs one day. We go to Gulf Shores and they all run out to the beach, and one of my nieces was like, I just saw Brett push somebody because they were all inside watching YouTube videos. And it was like my little niece was just like found this, like they showed her this video and she was like, I've never seen this before. And I'm like, can you show her other videos, please? Because there are others that are a lot better than that. So
Yeah,
I just don't, it's unfortunate that like that gets so much screen time because it was something he did and that's something he has to live with. But I don't think he was doing it with malice. And I think it just kind of clouded his his legacy a little bit.
I guess in my opinion, and I think some others will share, like there are two types of people. One will see the time winding down and know you don't have a chance, and so like you give up.
Mhm.
Okay. No, he was going to go to the last whistle, and it just so happens that as he was coming forward, he was doing the backflip. There was still time on the clock. Like it was just kind of a perfect storm of circumstances. The right guy in Brent Metcalf who's going to wrestle to the whistle. The other guy, the who was going to showboat a little bit, which is fine too, and it just collided. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
And he can say that. He'll say, I wrestle through the whistle and
for
the
sure.
multiplier was like feet in my face. And so, we it is what it is. He
Yeah,
will stand by to this day that he was just wrestling through the whistle, and
yeah,
everybody there will say that he's a horrible, awful human being that tried to do
yeah.
something on purpose. And I don't believe that for a second.
No,
But
he was a sore loser. Like.
yeah.
Yeah, no, no.
So I shouldn't have brought that up because now I just, made myself a lightning rod. But
No, no, it just goes to the point that like when something like that happens, like there's more than one person impacted, and there's like significant others you have to think about that you're like impacting them and their emotions and like, you know, it just, I don't know, just shut up.
yeah, yeah. I don't read anything because people have lots of things to say. But when people still have things to say, I'm like, about what? Like,
Right.
I saw somebody post a story about something that they said happened 15 years ago, and I'm reading it and I'm like, well, there's no way that happened. But two, like, why are you out here talking about this right now? Like,
Yeah.
is this bringing you joy? Is this bringing somebody joy? Is this bringing some sort of light into the world? Then
Yeah.
maybe you should just keep it to yourself. But I get mad because I'm like, you're just social media just gives people a platform to say whatever they want, whether or not it's true.
Right.
And
Right.
does it matter in life? No. But does it make me mad? Yes, it sure does.
Yeah, I guess it just says something, there are still people out there that when they think of Brett Metcalf, they will think of the good, the nonstop action, the intensity, he kind of was that for me anyway, when I was growing up, he was that turning point of like that's college wrestling, like that, holy cow. He was on like a different level that I've ever seen. Um, So yeah, he kind of opened my eyes to that, especially that Bubba Jenkins match. That was wild. It was awesome. Like, yeah,
Well,
because
that's good.
He was just getting beat.
Yeah,
He got
that's what
taken down a couple of times, and he just didn't quit. And you could tell he broke. Like Bubba Jenkins started to kind of break a little bit, and Brett was like a shark in water, basically. It
yeah.
was
He
awesome.
used to dig himself into some holes sometimes where I'd be like, why do you have to do that? Like, did you have to let them take you down a couple times first before you kicked it in, or just
What did
wanted
he
to
say?
some
You-
years off my life?
Is that what he did? Is that what he said he did? I just want to make it
I
interesting
don't
for you.
know. I mean, he'll tell you that he's not the most gifted, talented athlete out there, but he'll work harder than anybody. And so I think that was his window, like right off the whistle, he might not have been more technically sound, but he's gonna outwork you. And so I think that was a lot of his kind of bread and butter is like you were so tired you couldn't keep fighting him for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So it was fun to watch. I
Yeah.
wish you could still do it, but not anymore.
Yeah. Last question for you here. We just talked about kind of a lot of the last, I guess, 30 some years of your life. When you look over even the last, like, since you met Brent, and, the cycle that's all been going on, what do you think? Like, have you ever taken a second to just step back and be like, man, this has been just a wild ride so far?
I don't really step back that often because I feel like we're just like in the like craziness of like young kids that have schedules, and so I don't really take a lot of time to step back and just kind of like reflect. I think I turned 40 this year, and that's sort of like a time where you start to do that, where you're like, wow, okay, like we're not maybe like still like building our life, like our life is is built. We've put in the groundwork, and like, you start to look back, and I just think it's been fun. Like, I'm so happy that I met him that night in October of 2006. Like, it's hard to imagine life going any other way. Like, we're crazy, we're always on the go, like we're traveling, we're watching wrestling all the time, we're going to tournaments, we're doing all these things, but it's just fun. And I think it's been a pretty unique position to get to watch his journey. And obviously, I'm biased. I think he's one of the greatest of all time, regardless of if anybody else thinks that. I know he doesn't have some of the accolades of the people who, technically are the greatest of all time. I'm aware of that. But and watching him was fun. And to have like a front row seat to that and get to be along on the journey with him has been fun. But more so like seeing, I look back and I'm grateful for the person that I got to do it along with, because he's not what everyone maybe thinks he is. And he's taught me so many things and taken me on a pretty fun journey. So I'm pretty grateful for the last 20 years. It's been tough. Keep it
What has he
rolling.
taught you? Yeah, what has he taught you?
He's taught me about keeping things in perspective. He's taught me about not caring what other people think. And he's taught me about, like, you are what you tell yourself you are every day. Um, he's taught me about patience. He's taught me about being a good parent. I mean, we grew up together, we were kids, and now we got 4 kids of our own, and it's crazy.
What have
So
you taught him?
I don't know. I taught him to maybe let loose every once in a while, to have some fun along the way. Um, I
That's
think,
very important too. Like you underestimate how important that is.
yeah, I think he has the ability to kind of unwind a little bit more than maybe when he was pretty tightly wound when I met him, I would say.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think I've taught him kind of about loving unconditionally. Not that he didn't know that before. He comes from an amazing family his parents are great, but I think just feeling that from somebody who doesn't have to love you, not your parents have to love you, but
Hmm.
I say, like, your parents love you because you're their child, and your kids love you because they're your parent, but your spouse loves you because they choose to. And I think that's pretty, yeah, sorry, this is not supposed to be like a
No,
rom-com.
that's a good no. No, but that's a good kind of way to end here, like at the end of the day, you guys have walked through a lot of life together and it's because you chose the life, you know. Nobody made you do any of it. You did it together and whether it's the right way, the wrong way, it was your way. And now here you are and I guess the final question I have is what's next for you? Like seems like you got a nice job that you must enjoy and you're just going to kind of ride
Yeah,
this out, ride this wave and I mean,
yeah.
what's
The thing
next?
about college sports is you never know. You never know what's next. So I can tell you that we're really happy with where we're at right now. He loves his team and his staff, and I like my job. My job has been great, and my kids love it here. We're finally, like, kind of entrenched in the community where, like, our kids are in sports with, groups of kids, and so we're happy and we love it here. Um, but with college sports, you never know. So I always have that kind of in the back of my mind. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. You never do. So I guess our whole life, we've kind of just rolled with things. And so I guess we'll just continue to do that. So hopefully we can keep this going, what we've got going here. But, you never know.
Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Special thanks to my guest, Dr. Kristen Metcalf, for taking the time to sit down and chat with me. Cover art created and designed by Kristen Gill. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe to the podcast. You can also check me out on YouTube, Instagram, and my Facebook page to hear more of my content. And don't forget to check out my website at letstalkwrestlingpodcast.my.canva.site. And as always, be sure to tune in to hear the next guest of the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Take care. See you next time.